Welcome to another day on the farm with us here at JSH Rabbits. Boy, after a full day of work, I'm a bit tired, but I decided to make a quick video just to show you guys how we make our rabbit feeders. So, take a look. What I'm gonna be demonstrating today really is how we make our traditional J feeders. So this is an example of what I'm referring to. And we typically use these for the bucks and also the breeding, not the breeding, the grow out cages. We use smaller feeders though for the buck cages. When we're making feeders, we need a few tools in order to do that. So I have laid out here basically all the tools that we would need in order to make our feeders. So one of the things that we'll need is of course a pencil, and you'll see why. We'll need a cutter, I don't know what they call this. We call them zinc cutters here, or wire cutters. Yeah, so they have different names, I guess, in different countries. You need a file. Need a hammer, a drill with a 1/8 bit, a rivet gun, and rivets. We use 1/8 rivets, and also having the table. Yeah, we use a table also, and we use this block, this wood block. It's a 4x4 block. And you'll see why we need this. Alright, so apart from those, we need of course our material, our sheet metal. So we basically use a sheet metal called continuous roofing. Here it's called that. It's basically just like a galvanized metal, and I'm not even sure what gauge it is though, but I think it's like 20 something gauge. Yeah, so this is what we will use to fold and cut out and make our feeders. So now I'm sort of zooming in on the table. So if you look closely, you'll realize that the table has some features that are very important in the feeder construction. So let me start here. So this is just a piece of metal, and we cut about a 1/2 inch groove inside of it. So this part is used to bend things pretty much exactly to a 1/2 inch, right? So that's the whole reasoning behind that. This part now is used to sort of hold the feeders, and let me show you how. So for example, we need to bore a hole here. We might put the feeder over it like this, and it allows us to bore the holes, right? On the side, same way. It also sort of acts like an anvil, because sometimes we knock down the rivets inside of the feeder, because the rivets may act as an obstruction, and feed tends to build up behind the rivets, and when you knock down the rivets now, it kind of lessens the buildup of extra feed inside of our feed dust in the feeder. This section now, it sort of acts like a brake. A brake is used to bend things. So I guess in life you have different kind of brakes. Anyway, this is used to bend pretty much anything that is longer than a 1/2 inch. So basically it is just two pieces of angle iron that were welded together and joined to the table. So you can push things through, see, and then based on the markings that you have for each section, you bend accordingly. When we were designing the feeders, we realized that we needed something to bend the feeders and bend them quickly, so I came up with the design of this table based on my research. And of course, you know, flat surface is necessary to rest things on. The first thing we would have done is we would have made a template of the feeder. So we would have gotten the dimensions or worked out the dimensions and all of that and made a template with which we will use to cut out the other parts of the feeder. So we use the template, we would lay it flat on the sheet metal, and of course we would use our pencil to trace out the different sections. Once we trace them out, we would use this to cut them out of the sheet metal, right? So once we mark out and we cut out, we would basically end up with this and this. So this is what we would end up with. Of course, when you cut them out, the edges might be a little sharp, so we use the file to sort of deburr it, to get off the extra sharp edges so that we don't cut ourselves. Alright, so here we have our sheet metal. Alright, of course you have to be very careful when you are dealing with sheet metal. It can be sharp. Alright, so here we have our sheet metal unrolled. As I was saying earlier, we call this continuous roofing or continuous sheeting here in Jamaica. Alright, so what we would do now is basically lay out our template on the sheet metal and trace it around. Now we can basically make feeders in varying sizes. So this is a different size feeder. If you look at it, it's not as big as this one. So basically we can make any feeder of any size as long as we have the template. So this feeder that we'll be making would be like an 11.5 inch feeder. So from here to here is roughly 11.5 inches. So when you fold it, it will fold to about 11.5. So we'd lay the template out on the sheet metal, and you know, we would trace the lines. So I wouldn't be able to give you the specific direct dimensions of the template, because you know, we kind of worked that out beforehand and we made it so we wouldn't have to work. We made the template so we wouldn't have to be working out the dimensions every single time we wanted to make a feeder. The template has all the points where we need to mark, so we know where to bend and where to drill holes, etc, etc. So if you look closely, you will see that in this section there is a hole. So this will tell us where we need to drill the holes to rivet the front section. Here's another hole here. This will tell us where we need to rivet the bottom section. This tells us where we need to stop cutting, and this hole right here is for where we would put the wire. This is where we would put the wire in through the feeder in order to hang the feeder onto the cages. Alright, so in this section here there are some notches on the template which tells me where to bend. So when I mark the notch on both sides, so I mark it here and I mark it on this side, then I know where to bend the feeders, and you will see me demonstrating that. So basically after we mark out, you know, we would know exactly where to cut. Alright, so that's it. Once I mark that section out, then I would mark out this section, you know, similar. You see the holes and stuff there, so I know exactly where to bend the notches as well. So with this, all I need to do is just cut out and deburr, get off the sharp edges, and then drill the holes in the cutout. Once you have your feeder parts, then basically what you do is drill holes in the different sections. So you know, the template has the markings that will show where the hole should be. So we basically drill a hole at each section. So these will be for inserting the rivets. So after we've done all of that, then we would need to bend the parts and fit them together. So the table has a section on it that we use to bend. So this section, it basically has a like a half-inch groove in it. It's just a piece of metal with a half-inch groove that allows us to bend the sheet metal at a half-inch. This is basically what we need. Now we need to bend this section. We're going to bend this in different sections. So we would have marked it already based on the template, so now we're just gonna bend. So I'm just lining it up with the markings. So I'll bend here, and there's another section that I should bend. I'm lining up the markings again. So I will bend there. And then there is one other section that I should bend. So I'm lining it up again. And bend. Alright, so this is the first set of bends. Yes. So we're gonna bend this section now. Alright, so next is this. So now we need to bend these sections. So we're going to bend them. But first, we need to bend right here. So this section should be like a part of like a card holder thing. So we should add a piece at the bottom here to hold cards and so forth. Then we need to bend right here. So this is it. Once we've bent it, this is where the block comes in. So gonna use the block sort of like an anvil to line up the bends. So we get a nice flat bend. Same thing here, bend is nice and flat. So gonna use the drill now to bore holes. Right. Then we're gonna put in the rivets. So we put in the rivets. And then we use the rivet gun. So now we'll basically need to attach this front section here and this section. So we're going to show you how that is done. So we'd basically line up the section here and mark it with the pencil. Same thing on this side. And then we use the drill to bore holes at the front. Have more rivets. You rivet the front. So we've attached the front, but we'll need to put 2 more rivets here. So now that we've put on the front piece, we've attached this section. Now we'll need to put on this. Alright, so I'll just do that quickly. Here we basically have the finished product. As you can see, it's put together. Alright, so it's almost ready for use. I forgot to mention earlier that we need wire. This is called tie wire out here. It's basically just a galvanized wire. I think this is like 16 gauge or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But basically we'll need a piece of wire to use to make the handles, so to speak, that will attach this to the cage. So I'll just bend it. I'll bend it there. And this will be my handle. So we had pre-drilled 2 holes. So I'll push it through this one. And the other one on the other side. And bend it. So this is basically our completed feeder. You can make a top for it, or we can make a top for it, but you know, we choose not to since we don't really need a top. Yeah, so this is the finished product, and we'll basically just attach this to the cage for them to feed. So it takes a lot longer than this, Maybe because we are pretty good at it now, we can make it in a relatively quick time. But sometimes we have to be resourceful because we can't buy everything. It costs a lot of money to ship these things in because they're not readily available here. So we have to use our own skills and God-given talent. So that's it pretty much. We can make these in different shapes and sizes, but today we're just demonstrating this one. So that's it from us here at JSH Rabbits. Thank you for watching. Of course, you can always follow the channel, like, share, subscribe, the whole works. And of course, see you in the next one.